My girlfriend laughed while her family mocked my culture, so I ended it right there. On Thanksgiving, my girlfriend's 9-year-old brother asked, "Why does your food smell like birthday candles?" He scrunched his nose like he meant it as a joke. But he watched my face like he knew it could land wrong. I didn't shout. I didn't snap at a kid. I didn't embarrass anyone at the table. I made one small change. I opened a note on my phone titled Dinner Log, and I typed his exact sentence word for word, because I had a feeling this wasn't going to be a one-off comment. It was going to be a theme. My name is Amir. I'm 30. I live in the Bay Area, California, where what do you do is basically hello and nobody is ever truly off the clock. My girlfriend at the time was Haley. She was 29. We'd been together 2 years. 2 years of weekend hikes, late-night tacos, and her telling me she loved learning about my culture. That phrase matters. Loved learning. Because what I learned later is that some people love cultures in theory. But the moment it gets real, the moment it shows up at a family table, the moment it asks for respect, they laugh. Haley's family was from a small town a couple hours away. Her dad, Rick, had a loud laugh and a habit of being the funny guy. Her mom, Colleen, was sweet in that surface way, like she never wanted to be caught on the wrong side of anyone's mood. And her younger brother, Cody, was 9, still in that stage where kids repeat what they hear and test boundaries without knowing they're doing it. Haley had warned me in the car, my dad jokes a lot. I said, I can handle jokes. And I meant it. I can handle jokes about sports, about traffic, about my job. But jokes about identity aren't jokes. They're little power plays. And I didn't understand yet how comfortable Haley was with those power plays, as long as they weren't aimed at her. Here's what I should have noticed earlier. If your partner says, they're just like that, what they're really saying is, I'm not planning to stop it. The first red flag happened months before Thanksgiving. Haley and I were at a friend's birthday party. Someone asked me where my family is from and I answered, casually, like I always do. Haley cut in and said, laughing, Amir's basically our foreign exchange student. People laughed politely. I laughed too because I didn't want to make the air heavy. But later, in the car, I said, hey, that felt weird. Haley sighed. Babe, she said, it's not that deep. Not that deep. That phrase is how people bury your feelings. Then, 2 weeks later, her dad called me Aladdin in a group photo caption. Not to my face. Online. Haley saw it, laughed and said, oh my God, Dad. She didn't say, delete that. She didn't say, that's not his name. She laughed. I remember telling myself, okay, maybe she didn't realize. Then Thanksgiving came. We'd agreed to bring a dish. I asked Haley what would be okay. Whatever, she said. My family loves trying new stuff. So I made a rice dish my mom taught me. The kind that smells warm and spiced and comforting. The kind that makes my apartment feel like home. I also brought a small dessert, something simple, because I didn't want to show up like I was trying to take over. And I made sure the containers were sealed tight. Because I've learned the world can be childish about smell. On the drive there, Haley was cheerful. She reached over and squeezed my hand. You're going to be fine, she said. Fine. That word sounded like a challenge. When we arrived, her family greeted us like a TV commercial. Hugs. Happy Thanksgiving. Football in the background. Rick slapped me on the shoulder. Amir, he said, my man. It sounded warm. But warmth can still be condescending. We walked in, and Haley's mom said, oh, you brought something interesting. Interesting. She said it with a smile, but her eyes were scanning the container like it might explode. I set the dish down. Yeah, I said, it's a family recipe. Rick leaned in and said, loud enough for the room. Does it bite? People chuckled. I smiled politely, because I still believed this could be normal. Then Cody, the 9-year-old, asked the birthday candles question. And I didn't get mad at him. Because kids don't invent. They echo. So I wrote it down. And I watched who laughed. Rick laughed. Colleen laughed nervously. And Haley laughed the loudest. Not because it was the funniest thing. Because she wanted her family to see she was on their side. If you were me, what would you do right then? Because I didn't walk out. I stayed. I told myself, first comment, breathe, keep it light. Then Rick started calling me Buddy every sentence. Not my name. Buddy. Buddy, you want a beer? Buddy, what do you do again? Buddy, you guys doing the long haul? Long haul. Marriage talk. But it sounded like a joke he was making at my expense. At 4:28 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from my friend Marcus. Marcus, how's it going? Surviving. I looked at the text, then at the table. And I realized Marcus knew. He'd seen this dynamic before. I typed back. Me? So far, polite. We'll see. We'll see. That was the phrase that stayed in my head, because I could feel it building. Something was coming. Because when a family senses you're trying to be respectful no matter what, some people push. They push to see where your line is. And I didn't know it yet, but by the end of the night, my line would be public. Dinner started with the normal stuff. Turkey, mashed potatoes, Someone arguing about whether cranberry sauce is real food. I tried to relax. I asked Haley's mom questions about her garden. I asked Rick about his job. I laughed at normal jokes. Because I wanted to be the guy who blends in. But blending in isn't possible when people keep pointing at you and saying different. Halfway through dinner, Rick held up his fork, pointed it at my dish, and said, "Okay, everybody, moment of truth." He said it like he was about to perform. And I felt my stomach tighten. Because moment of truth at a table is never about food. It's about power. Rick scooped some onto his plate and exaggerated a sniff. Then he said, "Smells like a candle store." Colleen laughed. Cody laughed. And Haley laughed too, hand over her mouth, like it was adorable. I smiled politely, but my chest tightened. Then Rick took a bite and made a face. Not a real face. A face for an audience. He said, "Whew." Then he looked at Haley and said, "You sure you want this for the rest of your life?" Haley giggled. "Dad," she said, "stop. Stop. Not that's disrespectful. Just stop." Like he was teasing. Then Colleen added something small, in a sweet voice that landed like a slap. "Well," she said, "at least he's adventurous." Adventurous. Like my culture was a phase. I felt heat rise behind my eyes. I looked at Haley. She was smiling. She didn't look uncomfortable. She looked entertained. Here's what I should have noticed earlier. When your partner laughs at you, not with you, your body knows. Even if your brain is still making excuses. Then Rick asked me the question I hate. "Where are you really from?" he said. I answered politely, like I always do. "My parents were born in," I started. Rick interrupted with a laugh. "No, I mean like, where did you learn to talk like that?" "Talk like that?" Haley laughed again, and I swear to you that laugh did something in me. It made everything clear. Because this wasn't her family being awkward. This was her choosing them over me in real time. I took a breath. I kept my voice calm. "Rick," I said, "that's not okay." The table went quiet. Not fully quiet. But the room shifted. Rick blinked, surprised someone pushed back. Then he smiled, like a guy who thinks he can charm his way out. "Oh, come on," he said. "It's Thanksgiving. Don't be sensitive." Sensitive. That word is designed to put your pain back on you. I didn't take the bait. I said, "I'm not being sensitive. I'm being clear." Haley finally stopped laughing. But she didn't defend me. She sighed like I'd made it awkward. "Amir," she muttered, "please." "Please." Not, "Dad, stop." "Please." To me. Meaning, please take the disrespect so we can keep dinner smooth. If you were me, what would you do right there? Because that was the exact crossroads. Smile and swallow it. Or choose self-respect. Rick leaned back and said, "See, Haley, this is what I mean. You'll always be walking on eggshells." Eggshells. He framed my boundary as a burden. Then Colleen added softly, "He's under stress. Work is probably hard for him." She said it like she was diagnosing me. Like I needed compassion for being offended. Haley laughed again, small laugh, like she couldn't help it. And something in me went very still. I didn't feel rage anymore. I felt done. I stood up. I didn't slam my chair. I didn't raise my voice. I said calmly, "Thank you for dinner." Haley's head snapped up. "What?" she whispered. I looked at her and said, quietly, "I'm leaving." Rick laughed, like he thought I was bluffing. "Buddy," he said, "sit down." Buddy again. Like I was a dog. I didn't look at him. I looked at Haley. And I said the sentence that ended it. "Haley, if you can laugh while they mock me, you're not my partner," I said. "And I'm not doing another holiday like this." Haley's face went red. "Amir," she hissed, "don't do this here." Here. Again, the audience mattered more than the disrespect. I nodded once. "I'm doing it here," I said. Because it happened here. Then Cody, the 9-year-old, whispered, "Are you mad?" My chest tightened. Not at Cody. At the adults who made a kid feel responsible for a grown-up's humiliation. I softened my voice for him. "No, buddy," I said. "You're okay." Then I walked to the door. Haley followed me into the entryway, whisper yelling. "What is wrong with you?" she said. "It was a joke." I looked at her. "It was a joke to you," I said. "It was my dignity." Haley's eyes watered. "Stop being dramatic," she whispered. Dramatic. That was her final word. Not sorry. Not, I should have said something. Just dramatic. I opened the door, stepped outside into cold air, and breathed like I'd been underwater. "Behind me," Haley said. "So that's it." I turned. "Yes," I said. Then I walked to my car. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, but my mind was clear. I drove away. And at 7:14 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text, 7:14 p.m. Haley, "You embarrassed me. My dad said you're unstable." Unstable. Now she was rewriting me, turning my boundary into a character flaw. I didn't reply. I opened dinner log and typed. Thanksgiving ended relationship at dinner after culture mocking. Haley laughed. Then another text came in, and this one made my stomach drop. Text 7:18 p.m. Haley, please don't tell anyone the real reason. Just say we had a disagreement. There it was. She didn't regret the disrespect. She regretted the story. And I knew the next few days would be about one thing. Who controlled the narrative? I didn't post online. I didn't call mutual friends to get ahead. Because I've learned something. People who live off drama want you to feed it. Instead, I made another small change. I kept everything in writing. Receipts. Because I knew Haley would try to soften the story until it sounded like I overreacted over food. That night, she called me 9 times. 9. I didn't answer. I let it go to voicemail. Voicemail summary, 8:02 p.m. Haley, please come back. You made me look terrible. I didn't mean to laugh. It was awkward. Made me look terrible. Not, you were hurt. Image again. Then, at 8:16 p.m., I got a text from Rhea, her sister. Text 8:16 p.m. Rhea. Haley says you freaked out on my dad. Don't ever speak to her again. Freaked out. That's the word people use when they want your calm boundary to sound like chaos. I screenshot it. Then I wrote it in dinner log. The next morning, my friend Marcus came over with coffee and the kind of face people make when they don't want to say, I told you so. He sat at my kitchen table and said, You okay? I nodded. Then I shook my head. I'm not, I admitted. Because here's the truth. Breaking up right there feels powerful in theory. In practice, it feels like grief and relief fighting in your chest. Marcus said, What did she do after you left? I showed him the texts. The embarrassed me. The unstable. The don't tell the real reason. Marcus leaned back and exhaled. She's not sorry, he said. She's scared. Scared. Not of losing me. Of losing control over how she's perceived. If you were me, what would you do next? Because part of me wanted to go back, sit Haley down, and explain culture and respect and what it means. But another part of me knew. You can't teach someone empathy in the exact moment they prove they don't have it. So I wrote a breakup message. Not a paragraph. Not a speech. A clean boundary. Text 11:32 a.m. me. I'm ending the relationship. I won't be discussing it further. Do not contact me. I'm returning your things this weekend. Haley replied within seconds. Haley, you can't do this over a joke. Over a joke. She still didn't understand. Or she did, and she was minimizing. I didn't reply. I started boxing up her things. A hoodie. A phone charger. A book she left at my place. Then I found the little thing that made my stomach twist. Okay. My apartment key. We had given each other keys months earlier, like adults do when a relationship feels stable. I stared at it. Then I put it in the box and wrote a line in dinner log. Key returned, no further access. That afternoon I got a message from Haley's mom. Colleen. Text 2:18 p.m. Amir, I'm sorry you felt uncomfortable. Rick was teasing. Please don't ruin Haley's holiday. Felt uncomfortable. Not disrespected. And again, the holiday mattered more than my dignity. I replied with one sentence. Me, 2:21 p.m. I'm not responsible for protecting your comfort while you disrespect me. Colleen didn't respond. Then Haley tried a new tactic. She showed up at my place. Not inside. In the parking lot. I know because my neighbor texted me. Neighbor, your girlfriend is outside. She looks upset. I stayed inside. I didn't go down. Not because I was scared. Because I didn't want a parking lot scene that could be edited into he refused to talk. I texted her. Me, leave. I will drop your box at your sister's tomorrow. She replied, Haley, please, just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. People say 5 minutes when they know the conversation will turn into an hour of pressure. I didn't reply. Then she sent one more text. Haley, fine. I'll tell people you broke up with me because you hate my family. There it was. She was going to weaponize the lie. I took a screenshot. And I wrote it in dinner log. Because this is where a lot of people break. They panic. They rush to explain themselves. They start arguing online. But arguing online doesn't restore your dignity. It just gives the disrespect more airtime. So I stayed quiet publicly. And I did one private thing that mattered. I called my mom. Not because I needed permission. Because I needed grounding. My mom answered and said, Hey beta. That word, that warmth, reminded me who I am outside of Haley's family table. I told my mom what happened in plain language. No drama. Just facts. My mom went quiet. Then she said, I'm proud of you. I swallowed hard. Because I realized something. I didn't need Haley to validate my culture. I needed a partner who was proud to stand beside it. And Haley wasn't that. The next day, I dropped Haley's box at her sister Rhea's place. I didn't knock. I left it and walked away. And as I walked back to my car, my phone buzzed. Text from Haley. Can we meet? I want to apologize, like a real apology. A real apology. Those words almost got me. Because closure is tempting. But closure can also be another stage. And I had one question I needed answered. If we met, would she apologize because she understood, or because she wanted me to help her look like the good person again? I agreed to meet Haley, but I chose the place. A bright coffee shop near a grocery store. Middle of the day. No alcohol. No dim corners. No romantic vibe. Just reality. Haley walked in wearing the sweater I'd bought her last winter. That alone told me she wanted nostalgia. She sat down and looked at me like she expected me to make her feel better. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I waited. Because I've learned something. Fast apologies are sometimes just panic. I said, what are you sorry for? Haley blinked. For the night, she said. I stayed calm. No, I said. Say it plainly. Haley's eyes watered. My dad mocked your culture, she whispered. And I laughed. I nodded. And, I said. Haley swallowed. And I didn't defend you, she admitted. That was closer. I said, why did you laugh? Haley's cheeks flushed. I didn't know what to do, she said. If I corrected him, he would have gotten mad. There it was. She was afraid of her father's mood more than she cared about my dignity. I nodded slowly. So you picked the safer side, I said. Haley whispered. I picked the easier side. Easy. That word matters. Because being disrespected is easy for the people who aren't being disrespected. Then Haley said the line that told me she still didn't fully get it. I didn't think you'd take it so personally, she said. Personally? As if culture is a costume you can take off. I took a breath. Haley, I said calmly, it's personal because it's me. Haley nodded, tears falling. Then she pulled out her phone and turned it toward me like she had evidence. A draft message to her family group chat. It said she was sorry and she didn't mean it. Didn't mean it. I looked at her. Is this for me? I asked, or for them? Haley's mouth opened, then shut. Then she whispered, both. Both? Meaning she still needed the family approval. I didn't blame her for loving her family. I blamed her for using me to keep her seat at their table. I said, Haley, I'm not asking you to cut them off. I'm asking you to choose me when I'm being disrespected. Haley nodded quickly. I can, she said. I will. I paused. And here's the think moment I want you to feel if you're listening. A promise is easy when you're scared of losing something. The test is what happens when you have to disappoint your family. So I asked her one question. Are you going to tell your dad he crossed a line? I said, and that it can't happen again? Haley hesitated. Just a second. But it was enough. I can talk to him, she said. Talk to him. Not confront. Not correct. Talk. I nodded. Okay, I said, then do that. And if you want to rebuild trust, we can talk after you've done it. Haley's face crumpled. So you're making it conditional, she said. I kept my voice calm. Yes, I said. Respect is conditional, always. She looked stunned, like she'd never heard someone say it out loud. I stood up. I didn't slam my chair. I said, I accept your apology, but I'm not coming back right now. Haley whispered, Amir. I shook my head. This isn't punishment, I said. This is consequences. I left. In my car, I sat with my hands on the steering wheel and felt something unexpected. Peace. Not happiness. Peace. Because I hadn't argued. I hadn't begged. I had kept my dignity intact. That night, Haley texted me. Text 7:18 p.m. I talked to my dad. He said you're too sensitive and that you disrespected him by correcting him. I stared at the text. Because there it was. Her dad didn't apologize. He doubled down. Then Haley wrote, text 7:19 p.m. I told him you're not coming to Christmas. Not coming to Christmas. She finally drew a line. And I felt conflicted. Because that was the first real boundary she'd ever set. But it was also late. And I had to decide whether late effort is enough. If you were me, what would you do? Because part of me wanted to reward the boundary. But another part of me remembered her laugh. That laugh had taught me how small I was in that room. And I didn't want to become that small again. So I replied with one sentence. Me, 7:26 p.m. Thank you for standing up, but I still need space. I wish you well. Haley didn't respond. 2 days later, she posted a vague story online. Sometimes loving someone means letting them go. People commented hearts. And that's when I realized something. She was still performing, even in heartbreak. And I didn't hate her for it. I just knew I couldn't marry a performance. And the final update came a month later, in the simplest way. A friend texted me a photo of Haley at her family Christmas. Her dad was wearing a shirt that said, jokes only. Haley was smiling. And I understood. She had chosen her table. I had chosen mine. A breakup like that doesn't end with fireworks. It ends with quiet rewiring. Because you start replaying moments. Not the big ones. The little ones you ignored. The it's not that deep. The don't be sensitive. The laugh. I spent a few weeks feeling embarrassed, which is a weird emotion after you do the right thing. Because I didn't want to admit I'd stayed that long with someone who couldn't defend me. Then my mom said something on a phone call that changed how I held the story. She said, "You didn't lose her. You returned her." Returned. Like she didn't fit. Like she wasn't built for my life. And that made the shame loosen. Final update. It's been a year. I'm dating someone new, slowly, carefully. The first time she met my friends, someone mispronounced my name. Not maliciously. Just clumsy. And she corrected it immediately, calmly. "His name is Amir," she said. Like this. No laugh. No apology on my behalf. No performance. Just respect. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like. Not perfect, just safe. And if you're listening and you're younger, or you're in a relationship where you keep telling yourself it's just jokes, I want you to hear this. Your line doesn't have to be everybody else's line. But you do have to have one. Because the longer you stay in rooms where your identity is entertainment, the more you teach people that's what you are. I didn't end my relationship because her family was awkward. I ended it because she laughed. Because in that laugh, she told me exactly where I ranked. Below her comfort. Below her father's ego. Below the holiday vibe. And I'm not living below my own dignity anymore. Here's what we learned from this story. First, there's a difference between awkward and disrespect. Awkward is clumsy. Disrespect is repeated, and it gets defended. Second, your partner's reaction matters more than the comment. A partner who protects you will correct the room. A partner who laughs will make you carry it alone. Third, don't argue for your dignity in a room that benefits from you having none. Set a boundary, leave, and let the silence do the teaching. Fourth, kids learn what normal is by watching adults tolerate things. If you're building a future, build it where respect is automatic. And finally, you don't end relationships to punish people. You end them to protect your peace. If you like calm, realistic, long story times with receipts, clear timelines, and real closure, subscribe to the channel. That's what we do here.